And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to talk about some of the moves that the Chiefs made and could be making. And that is regarding wide receiver Marquez Valdes-Scantling and also cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. So we'll get into Valdes-Scantling. So the Chiefs have released Valdes-Scantling. Not really too much of a shocker. Now, there's another wide receiver that's still on the team that maybe you would look at and say, maybe you should release him instead. But again, this is also a money thing because Valdes-Scantling, him being released now, that saves the team $12 million against their salary cap. Now, supposedly the reason for that is because they're preparing to potentially use the franchise tag on L'Jarius Sneed. Now, they could also be looking to trade L'Jarius Sneed because the Chiefs have allowed him to explore trade opportunities, as reported by NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. So, he's a key piece on that defense, but, and I guess the Chiefs, they figure, hey, we could get something if we trade him rather than just, letting him go. But yeah, so that's something that I was reading, that they did this because they want to franchise. It looks like they want to franchise tag Sneed, and then if they end up trading him, they'll do that. Because, again, you can get a return for him. Now, the other thing, too, is Chris Jones. They're going to throw a lot of money at Chris Jones. If they end up losing Chris Jones, that is going to be a huge loss on the defensive side of the ball. And Sneed is a nice player, too. So, that's... if they end up losing him and trading him, but they're going to have to figure out how to replace him. But Chris Jones, I think, is, we can all agree, is more of the priority here if they're trying to bring him back, because, he's the best defensive player on the team. He's one of the best defensive players in the NFL, period. Now, the Chiefs are reportedly open to trading Sneed if a long-term deal cannot be reached. That's also what I was reading up. So we'll see what ends up happening. Now, also with the general manager, Brett Veach, saying at the scouting combine that if Sneed or star defensive tackle Chris Jones cannot be re-signed by the start of free agency next month, the team is prepared to use the franchise tag on them. So it's also on the table for Chris Jones as well. So yeah, kind of from different things that I've been reading, there's different things the Chiefs could do. But yeah, so they end up cutting Valdes-Scantling. And yeah, he was a problem this year during the regular season with some of the drops. But he made some big catches. He had a couple of big catches in the Bills playoff game. And he also had the game-sealing reception against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. That iced it. And you also had him catching the go-ahead, well, at the moment, the go-ahead touchdown in the Super Bowl when the 49ers fumbled on the punt return. But, yeah, so so some of his stats from his couple years with the Chiefs, he caught 42 passes in 2022 and 21 passes this past season, contributing significantly in playoff games. Now, this was a big game he had. This was against the Bengals in the championship game in 2022. He caught 8 passes for 116 yards and a touchdown. Also, like I said, had that key reception that iced it against the Ravens in the championship game and the touchdown in the Super Bowl as well. Valdes-Scantling ranked 5th in receptions among Chiefs receivers during the 2023 regular season, with rookie Rashee Rice leading the position with 79 catches. So again, it was a money thing, and he was brought in because you got to remember, you go back to the 2022 season. I mean, the Chiefs, they trade away Tyreek Hill, and you're like, oh, how are they going to replace him? They signed Marquez Valdes-Scantling, they signed Juju Smith-Schuster, they also traded for Kadarius Toney during the season. They drafted Sky Moore, right? They drafted Sky Moore, or was Sky Moore undrafted? Well, I know he was drafted in my dynasty rookie draft, but he might have been undrafted. I think he was undrafted, if I'm not mistaken. Oh wait. and he was selected by the Chiefs in the second round. Oh, never mind. I don't know why I thought he was undrafted. But yeah, he was selected by the Chiefs in the second round of the 2022 NFL Draft. All right, so that was my mistake. Yeah, the second round, 54th overall pick. I don't know why I thought he was undrafted. Maybe it was it might have been Justin Ross. I think he was the one they signed that was undrafted. But yeah, so they replaced their they did their best to try to replace Tyreek. Well, didn't really replace him, but listen, the Chiefs went on and they won the Super Bowl. Then, you lose Juju Smith-Schuster, and the receiver core was, there was a drop off, and even more, and you draft Rashee Rice. And the Chiefs somehow they worked their way through it, and yeah, like I've been saying, and they get back to the Super Bowl and they win it. But yeah, Valdes-Scantling had a drop problem. Sky Moore had a drop problem. Kadarius Toney, him too, and also lining up off sides. So yeah, there were a lot of issues that the Chiefs were somehow able to work through and get to the Super Bowl and win it. But yeah, so Valdes-Scantling is now a free agent, and we'll see where he ends up. I know when I saw on Twitter they had the graphic of the Chiefs released him, and the first comment was, I said that yesterday. I believe it was like, and I said, Aaron Rodgers right now, and it was like a face of, it was a GIF of LeBron James or a video of LeBron James making a face. So, maybe Valdes-Scantling ends up going to the Jets. Who knows? But yeah, so then the other thing too, so I also had, so back to L'Jarius Sneed. So the franchise tag for cornerbacks is valued at $19.8 million for the 2024 season. Sneed was a fourth-round pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. He became a key player on the Chiefs' defense. 10 interceptions, 40 passes defensed, 4 forced fumbles, and 6.5 sacks in his career. Again, one of their better defensive players, but they could be looking to, franchise tag him and then possibly trading him. But, we'll see what ends up happening. I mean, I don't know. If I'm L'Jarius Sneed, listen, you want to get paid, but, I mean, at the same time, this team could be, working their way to three-peating. And you want to jump off now? Now, again, if he goes to another good team, I saw a tweet that said, the Falcons are a team that's looking for cornerback help. Now, I'm not saying the Falcons are championship caliber, but, if they upgrade a quarterback, I mean, that team's going to be good. Now, I don't know. I wouldn't say they're Super Bowl contenders, but that's a good team. But I don't know. I feel like it's different for us because we look at it and we're like, well, your team just won the Super Bowl. Why are you going to want to leave? But it's because you want to get paid, ultimately. And, I mean, listen, I know people complain about players and the outrageous amount of money that they make, but the guy wants to get paid. That's his right to go do so. If he does indeed leave, this team that, could definitely three-peat. They definitely can. But I'm interested to see, what the Chiefs end up doing with the wide receiver position, because that is something that they are really going to have to upgrade. And I feel like they could definitely, I mean, they're definitely going to find a replacement for Valdes-Scantling. I mean, obviously you're losing a good player in L'Jarius Sneed, but again, I feel like the Chiefs are a well-run organization. I mean, look at what they've been able to accomplish the last several years. That they're going to be able to find replacements for these guys. Now, Chris Jones is different. That's going to be where if you got to find a replacement for him, it's going to be difficult. But I feel like they could find replacements for L'Jarius Sneed and most certainly Valdes-Scantling. But again, only time will tell. But I'm curious to see what they end up doing at the wide receiver spot. Are they going to draft somebody, or are they going to, look to free agency? I know, speaking of wide receivers, I know the Colts, they're working on an extension with Michael Pittman, so it looks like he's not going anywhere. I know the Bucs are really prioritizing, signing most of their free agents back. I mean, they're trying to work out deals with Winfield Jr. and Baker and Mike Evans and also supposedly Levante David as well, because I think I did mention how he doesn't want to leave. He wants to stay a Buck. The Bucks actually did release Shaquille Barrett, which I think I did mention that. So, yeah, that's another player from the Super Bowl going to be going elsewhere. But, yeah, I mean, listen, the Chiefs, they got to upgrade the wide receiver position. I know, listen, you got Patrick Mahomes, who's an all-time great, but, you want to surround him with better wide receivers. I mean, you could tell, listen, he had a couple of meltdowns on the side. I mean, the Bills game was a meltdown. I know the Patriots game, he was, frustrated because, Kadarius Toney bobbled it and it led to another interception. But, you want to give Patrick Mahomes some better receivers. Hey, maybe Juju Smith-Schuster comes back. Because I think he definitely regrets going to the Patriots because that was rough. But I mean, listen, Valdes-Scantling, like I said, they're going to be able to replace him. I mean, listen, they got 2 Super Bowls with him. They're going to find a replacement for him. Sneed, like I said, I think they could find a replacement for him. But it's gonna be tough, because he's a good player, and you don't want to lose him. But if he wants to leave, they like I said, they're gonna try to work on getting him traded. If that ends up being the case. But Chris Jones is you can't afford to lose him. That is going to be the player that is going to be really tough to replace if that ends up happening. Which again. We'll have to see how it plays out. But, that's a player you cannot afford to lose. But like I said, Chiefs are a machine. They're well run. They're going to figure it out. And and it also helps when you have the best quarterback in the NFL. And you got Andy Reid. This team is they lose guys, but they just. It's like the Astros in baseball. They'll lose guys, but they just keep going. It doesn't matter whoever they lose. I mean, the Astros, look at the players they lost. And they get back to the World Series. They're always in it. They're always in the championship games. And as a Yankee fan, it stings. But, yeah, so that's pretty much it when talking about this. Let me know what you guys think about the Chiefs releasing Valdes-Scantling and, what should end up happening with L'Jarius Sneed. Again, I think you prioritize bringing back Chris Jones over L'Jarius Sneed. Again, you're losing a nice player if they end up trading him. But, let me know what you guys think about that. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will talk about what the Browns GM had to say about Nick Chubb's future as well as Deshaun Watson's recovery. Before I go to break, just want to remind you guys again, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is gsmcspodcast.net. Really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcspodcast.net. And like I said, it's not on the ticker. We'll have to fix that. So yeah, gsmcspodcast.net. So, like I said, when we come back from our second break of the show, we will discuss the Browns and what the Browns GM had to say regarding Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb. So, with that being said, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.